All of you know how I love to come home and find a package on my porch. It's like Christmas all over again. Well, today I come home and look what's on my porch. Oh yeah. And we're going to open it up today here on the MT and Me. So once again, we find ourselves back in Pearl, ready to do a little unboxing. This is a big box, but it's not a heavy box. Let's see what the delivery man has brought us this time. I love this part. Okay. The packing slip. Oh, look. Paper. More paper. Lots more paper. We have a really big box full of a lot of paper. But there are some things in here. First of all, we have 2 valve cover gaskets. Not returnable if opened. Big label on the front. That's okay. I'm not going to return them. I'm going to use them because I know they're the right ones for Pearl's engine over here. Ah, but there's more in the box. We have 1 radiator hose and something else in here. Oh, here we are. And another. This is the top radiator hose for Pearl's engine, and this one is the bottom. We'll compare here in just a minute to be sure that they are the ones we need, but they should be exact replacements. And like I said, it won't be too much longer. We're going to be putting the radiator back on, so I thought it was a good idea to go ahead and get these hoses and get that taken care of. I think that's all we're going to find in this box for today. But it gives us something to work with. We're not going to exactly, like I said, we're going to see if these are correct. We'll have them be putting them on before too long. But as for these, this is going to be the upcoming project right here, right now, is getting these valve cover gaskets in place so that we can get the actual valve covers back on Pearl, sealed down, and all ready to go, because it's not going to be too much longer. We're going to try to start this engine. So we have the 2 radiator hoses, and before we go any further, let's just do a little quick check under the hood here on Pearl to be sure that we have the correct hoses. Now the bottom one is real easy to get to and access, so let's look at it first. So here's the lower hose right here, and it doesn't take much to see that this is absolutely going to be an exact replacement for it. I mean, it's the same length. Everything is just perfect. The numbers match up. 20974. So we have an exact replacement for the lower hose. And here again, I can tell the difference squeezing the new one, squeezing the old one. Chances are the old one is still good and probably would, last a while. But why wait? I've got it apart. Let's replace them, have something new on there, and be ready to go. So we're good on the bottom. Let's see what top side's like. Now this one's going to be a little bit harder to see, so you may just have to take my word on some of it. Here we have the top hose. This will go back like that, fit in the same place. And here again, I think we have a perfect match. Looks to me like they're going to fit just fine. Here again, I don't exactly have a number on this top hose. I do on the replacement. But even without the numbers matching up, I can tell you, it's the exact match. So we are good to go when it comes to radiator hoses. And when time comes to swap them out, it'll be a simple matter to take care of that and put our radiator back in on Pearl to be ready to fire her back up. And by the way, while we're under the hood, I think I have found the battery tray that I'm going to order. I'll take care of that in the next day or two. We'll have to get it here and then work out the fine details of exactly what the best way to mount it will be. I have found some exact replacements for this battery tray, but they were très expensive, as the French would say. A lot more than I wanted to pay for one anyway. So I've got something that's affordable. We'll get it here. It appears to be really exactly the same measurements, and it comes with a tie-down attachment on it for the battery, which the other one did not have. I would have had to have gotten it separately. So we're going to order the one that I found, and then we'll kind of cross that bridge about what the best way to mount it. I'm still thinking rivet it in place, drill some holes and rivet it. We'll just kind of have to see once we get it here. So that's probably on next week's program. Get ready. For the immediate moment, though, our focus is going to be on replacing the valve cover gaskets. We've got the new gaskets. I have some RTV sealant that we can use if necessary. The first step is going to be get these beautiful blue valve covers back off of Pearl's engine, and then we can see about fitting those gaskets in place. Okay, so I think I have everything together here. Socket wrench with 11mm socket. That's what I need for the bolts. We have the new gaskets. We have some RTV sealant in case we need it to hold the gaskets in place. A putty knife for cleaning, and a knife because you just always need a knife before it's all said and done with, okay? First thing, let's get these beautiful new blue spark plug wires out of the way so we can get the cover off. I'm going to try and work around the wires and vacuum hose this as much as I can without having to disconnect them. At least I hope I can do that anyway. This, by the way, is I don't know if I mentioned it earlier whenever I did these before. We took them off and cleaned them. They are a 5-bolt mounting. So they've got actually 3 on what I'd call the bottom to the outside. And then there's 2 more bolts on the inside. So now you know. All right, last one. Okay. Now this one still has the old gasket on it. So we're going to pull that off. It's not too bad. Pull it off, wipe this down really good. As I said before, we've cleaned these, took them off, cleaned them and painted them, and I took the gaskets out then, so we really don't have any old gasket material on there. A little notch kind of bent right there, just now noticed that. Apparently not a problem though. So anyway, I'll go ahead and wipe it down on the engine block as well. Although here again, all along the head, it's pretty clean. Rattling a tappet there, couldn't figure out what was going on. Okay, everything's looking good. Told you this knife would come in handy. Let's open our new gasket package. I can no longer return it. Darn. I remember seeing on a couple of videos, they pointed out to be sure that you use the proper gasket on the proper side. On a Dodge 360, they're identical. These two are exactly the same, so it's, as long as I get it on, you do have a top and a bottom because it kind of tapers in on the 3-hole side as opposed to the what I call the top, the 2-hole side. So you have to put it on with the proper orientation. But fortunately, it will not fit improperly, so it's kind of hard to put it all wrong. Okay, I'm thinking this is going to stay on there pretty firmly without any RTV sealant. Most of the advice videos say use some sealant to hold the gasket in place. You might just do a thin coat or just use just enough to keep it there, because this is a it's not pure rubber, but it is a rubber poly blend gasket as opposed to a cork one, and it will seal and form itself to the gasket lining once you tighten it down. With cork, sometimes you might have little places here and there that you'd leave a gap, and you could get an oil leak there. So they recommend sealant with that, but not necessarily when you're using some sort of rubber or polymer gasket. So I'm going to give this a try. I can always take it off later if it develops a leak. First thing is to see if I can get this back into position, holding it in place without it falling out. The one spot I'm worried about is right here. The rest of it seems to be holding in place. So anyway, let's give this a shot and see what happens. See if my bolt holes are lining up. And they do seem to be. Well, I think we've lined it up. Let's see if we can tighten it back down. Alright, well, I'm obviously not torquing these down to specifications. Since I don't have a torque wrench, that would be a little difficult. But they are nice and hand snugged which in my experience is going to be just fine as far as valve cover tightening goes. And like I said, if there's a leak later on, we can always address that. We'll just keep an eye on it once we get the motor running. So, 4 cylinders down. We got 4 more on the other side. Let's see if we can change that cover. All right. Same thing, other side. Once again, we got our gasket ready. Hopefully, since I didn't need any sealant on the other side, I won't need it on this side either. There's not quite as much to get in the way over here. So let's undo our plug wires, get them pushed back. Let's get the PCV valve out. Tell you what, let's just disconnect it, leave the valve in. Get the vacuum hose out of the way. The only other thing we have to worry about is the oil spout filler. It's just kind of in the way is what it amounts to. We'll just have to work around that part. Let's get our bolts out. Not the easiest thing to get to. At least not with the thumb and the forefinger. There we are. Okay. Okay. That's got all the bolts out. Now, if memory serves me correctly, which it rarely does, I will inform you, there's probably not a gasket on this one. I remember one of the gaskets came apart whenever we took the covers off originally, and I don't necessarily remember trying to fit it back in there. So we're about to find out. And sure enough, nope, there's no gasket on this one. So my faith in my memory is temporarily restored. We'll wipe this off good. Here again, just like the other valve cover, it's been cleaned. It's just not an easy way to get that out of the way. So, let's see how this is going to fit. Once again, it seems to line up good. It's just a couple of spots, a little loose, like right here in the middle. I have to kind of hold them in place as I put it back on the engine head, cylinder head. So, well, I did it on the other side. Let's see if I can do it on this side. Fighting the oil spout all the way. Well, I got it in place, but I actually think I've got the oil fill spout going under a hose that it needs to go over. So I'm going to have to pull it back off and reposition it. Fun, fun. Now, I think it's in the right place. The gasket's good. Let's get some screws in to hold it in place before we tighten it down. No, I think overall this one might have lined up a little easier than the other one. Let's put the socket to it. Socket to it. Yeah. Let's put the socket to it and tighten them down. Well, all right. Job well done. Wipe off the hands, and so a few minutes and one old gasket later, we've got brand new head cover gaskets on Pearl's Dodge 360 LA. And like I said, that brings us just another step closer to getting her ready to run. As I showed you earlier, we have the new radiator hoses. Not quite ready to change them out and put them on yet, but when we do get to the point of putting the radiator back on, that's when we've got them, and they'll certainly be put in place then. They fit, they're exact fits, so I'm not worried about any surprises when it comes to that. But we're not quite ready for the radiator yet. I mean, we've still got a little bit of work to do on the front of the engine. I wish I could come up with a way to check out the water pump. I have no reason to think that it's bad, but if I'm going to replace the water pump, now would be the time to do it. I've got everything off the front of the engine. It would be a real simple job. And if I wait till later on and have to replace a pump, once I get the fan and the radiator and the belts back on, then, well, you can see it gets a lot more complicated. So if anybody has a good idea about how to check a water pump in situ the way it is now without the motor running, please comment below and give me an idea. I'd be willing to check it out. Otherwise, I think I'll just stick with the pump I have, cross my fingers, as I do a whole lot, and hope it's okay for the time being. But beyond that, we still need to do a little electrical work on the front. I want to check out the alternator and check the wiring on it. We also, of course, obviously have to do the things like get the fan belts back on, get them retensioned and everything, put the fan itself back on, and then we'll be to the point about possibly reinstalling the radiator. So I know we're not talking far future here. It's all going to happen before too terribly long, and I think once we get the ball rolling, then things will kind of snowball, and we'll really get into a phase of rapid progress. I like that phrase, but anyway, time will tell. I'm proud of what we've accomplished today. I'm proud of you for joining me in getting it taken care of here on the MT and Me. Next week, not really sure yet. If I get that battery tray that I've ordered in, then that probably will be our focus. But I'm not making any promises at this point. Something will come up. You can bet on that. In the meantime, if you're not a subscriber, please do so, because that would help me tremendously. There's a link below. There's also a link to buy me a coffee if you'd like to help out monetarily with the Pearl Restoration Project. And you find a link to the website, themtandme.com, where there's a whole history of the Mobile Traveler organization, some more background on Pearl, this particular model of MT, and just a whole lot of useful stuff, and links to most of our videos. You'll find it all at themtandme.com. So check it out sometime when you're just surfing through the web, like I know you do, and looking for something to look at. I promise you, it'll be interesting, okay? And I promise you, we'll come up with something interesting next week if you'll join us next Sunday here on the MT and Me, all right? I appreciate each and every one of you. Give me a thumbs up, because YouTube really likes those likes. And that helps a lot of other people see my videos here. So you can do your part. Thumbs up, share, and tune in every Sunday morning here on the MT and Me. Till next time around, I'm Russ. I love you, my nomies. Thanks for watching. We will talk later. Happy Chinese New Year. A couple of weeks late. Sorry. I'll go now.